Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's having a great day. I can tell you that it's plenty warm here in Alabama. It's a little bit over 90 degrees. I hope everybody is staying hydrated. Today, we're going to talk about Samsung dishwashers. Okay. Some of the specifications of the Samsung dishwasher on this one that we're talking about today. It's got a 120 volt power supply. It needs to be 29 to 120 psi. It's got a rotating nozzle spray type for the both the upper and the lower and the middle racks. It has a heater that produces 540 watts. The wash motor produces 50 watts. And the water consumption, which everybody should be that should be their concern, you get 2.8 to 8 gallons, depending on which cycle you select. Okay, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about most common issues. We're going to talk about checkpoints before your diagnosis. Then we're going to go through error codes, wiring schematics, and then we're going to go to breakdowns. What to do, how to take this unit apart. Okay, so if anybody has any other issue, something that they want to bring up, if you look down on the bottom right hand corner, you can type anything into the bar down there, and it'll pop up. And then in about 10 or 15 minutes, I'll stop and I will go back and we can go back over whatever it is that you have. So like I said, we're talking to, we're going to start with the most common issues. Okay. So in my experience, the most common issues for a dishwasher has always been either it's not cleaning the dishes. Whenever it finishes the cycle and I open the rack, the dishes are too wet. The other one is it takes too long to wash the dishes, and the dishes are dirty whenever I take them out of the dishwasher. Then there are issues with leaking and noise that we're going to go through. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of those that we've already started to talk about. Okay, not cleaning the dishes. A lot of the times, the not cleaning the dishes is simply a matter of the detergent that the customer uses. It could also be that they don't preheat the dishwasher or the hot water going into the dishwasher. That there's several reasons that it's not cleaning the dishes. Okay, so another thing is the dishes are wet. Well, if I'm not using jet dry or it's not in the little packet that I have, I'm probably going to have dishes that are wet. One of the other things is I'll tell you a perfect example. Whenever I'm washing dishes and I put my dishes in the dishwasher, turn it up and let it go, I have to be very careful because many of the plastics that are there have a huge lip on them. I mean, some of the plastics that are out there have at least 1/8 of an inch, and that dishwasher is not going to, that dishwasher is not going to dry those dishes completely. You're going to have a little bit of water still left in the top of that container. So the other thing is it takes too long to wash the dishes. Okay, that is depending on the cycle that you use. If you don't like the cycle and you think it's taking too long to do it, just go ahead and judge it. Do it in the beginning. Do a normal. Put it in. Turn it on. Let it run through the cycle. Have the customer do this before you get there, and then ask them whenever the dishwasher stops to please note how much time has expired, because it actually These dishwashers can take too long. Once again, it depends on if they have a heater in them. The dishwasher we're talking about today will heat the dishes. So you have to be careful because it takes a whole lot longer if I'm having to heat the water because they didn't put a lot of dishes. Put the correct temperature water in. It was cold, and then the dishwasher itself had to heat it up. Okay, that could be several things that could be wrong there. Okay, another one is the dishes are dirty when I take them out of the dishwasher. Once again, that is either a detergent issue, a jet dry issue, or it could be that the water temperature is so cold whenever it starts that it never has time to get rid of the trash on the dishes. Okay, we're also going to talk about leaking, and then we're going to talk about noise issues. If I stepped right in and said, hey, that's one of the things that used to drive me crazy were noise issues, because usually whenever I get there, guess what? I try to run it through the cycle. I don't get any noise. I don't hear anything. Like I said, this is a Samsung dishwasher. They are in the process of coming up with something very similar to the GE Smart HQ device, and then whenever they achieve that, then you'll be able to literally go in and look at everything and tell just exactly what the problem is. That is one thing that I love about the GE Smart HQ device. I can plug it into my dishwasher. I can run it through the cycles. If I have a noise issue, I can actually go through and try everything that could possibly make a noise. I even had a customer that used to complain because it was too noisy. The water going into the dishwasher was too noisy. Well, there's no way to adjust the noise that it comes. Well, there is, but the only way you can adjust the noise for where it goes into the dishwasher is to put a little more insulation around that area, around the water valve and the inlet to the dishwasher. Okay, so those are my noise issues. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any suggestions? Anybody have anything that's different? You're going to have to pardon me because I'm sitting here in a total sweat, even though the temperature is set on 78. But does anybody have anything that they have that they have run into that is not in this list? I'm going to wait just a minute and see if anybody puts anything in the comments section. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and go on because it looks like there wasn't anybody that put anything in the comments. So check points before diagnosis. Okay, check the operation of the door lock switch. Make sure that the door is locked while the dishwasher is running and that the dishwasher stops running when the door is unlocked. I will tell you right now, my house in Daytona Beach, I'm getting ready to sell because I'm going to move to the farm. And one of the complaints that the inspector noticed was that whenever you open the door, the dishwasher doesn't stop. So what does that tell me? That tells me that either the door lock switch is stuck, and I'm going to have to take it apart and release it. We're actually going to go through that in later on in the program. And that's one of the things that I do like about this dishwasher. The other thing that I really like about this dishwasher is that it has 3 zones. It has a top, a middle, and a bottom. So that helps the cleaning of the dishes. Another thing that we're going to need to do is inspect for any part of this dishwasher that is not an authorized Samsung replacement part. One thing about Samsung is they want a Samsung part. They don't want a knockoff. They don't want a gem line part in their dishwasher. If you do, you void the warranty, just so you know. And I have worked for Samsung, and I have voided warranties because somebody put them in, and that made the technicians responsible. The technician that installed the unauthorized part while it was under warranty, them responsible for that repair forever. So then next, we're going to check all the wires to ensure they're not loose or that they're too tight. There's not really anything that's too tight. The only problem you'll have with it being too tight is if I have to remove the clip. I can't have problems with that, but you really can't have it too tight. This is actually the list from the Samsung rep that I got this information from. Okay, ensure that all wires are connected correctly and that they are well bound with tape and if they are properly clamped. Okay, I have run into, and as whenever I was a technician, one of the problems that we ran into with a Whirlpool was that where it went up through the door after it got to be about 8 or 9 years old, all of the opening and closing of the door, it actually caused one of the wires to get cut. And of course, it was the neutral wire. And then it was just dead. And it took you about 30 minutes to figure out what it was the first time you had to do it. And then the second time, that's exactly where you went the first time because it was dropping the neutral out. Okay. So check the wires to ensure they're not, that those are not too loose. Okay. That's the only other thing is that it's so loose that it's not making contact. Okay, I'm going to check to see if all the screws and nuts are properly fastened correctly. I'm going to check to make sure they are fastened with the correct specific torque. So whenever I go and I torque something down, I want to make sure that I'm using the correct torque. I just don't willy-nilly it. Okay, I'm going to check if there's any foreign material, wire pieces, screws, or anything else that's in the dishwasher, glass, things like that. I'm going to ensure that there's no material that has entered through the sump disposal. Okay, that will cause problems with the pump. It will cause problems later on. It depends on what it is. It can get caught up into the into the drain line, and then if I've done that, then I'm going to have to disassemble the drain line, and that's not a fun job. Anytime that I have to pull this dishwasher out, I'm gonna have to be very careful. I'm going to put it on a slide so that I can raise the front legs, pull it out, and not damage anything on the customer's floor. That's the one thing that I will tell you is there's three things that I insist whenever I was the service manager on was that you put everything on a slide or a piece of laminate that will not cause anything to happen with the damages. The other thing is that I want, if I'm walking into the house, you wear booties. If I've got a toolbox, I have a mat for my toolbox. I never lay anything on the counter. Okay, I never want to damage anything in the house. I had a technician that actually put his toolbox up on the counter, got down on the floor and started working on the dishwasher. Reached his hand up, grabbed a tool, and whenever he did, another one came out and it hit a tile floor and actually chipped part of the tile floor. So I had to replace that tile. Thank goodness the customer had a piece of tile still with them. Otherwise, we could have had to replace the whole floor. I mean, you have to be careful. If I can teach you anything, number one is to be careful with customers' stuff. Okay. Then I'm going to ensure that there's no water leakage from the hose connector, the door, the case, the sump, the motor, the heater, the thermistor, the humidity sensor, the turbidity sensor, the motor, or there's a little switch in that if something happens and if I have a leak, it will drain down into the bottom of the dishwasher. It will collect water, and that water will be expelled because the switch makes connection. Once it gets all the water gone, it will shut off. But this will happen at the most inopportune times. I had a customer that called me and said, "Hey, listen, my dishwasher is running at like 2:00 in the morning. This thing is possessed." And it's like, well, no, sir. You have a special dishwasher that has a sensor that if it detects a leak, it will fill up to a certain point, and then it will expel the water. Then it will sit and wait for it to fill up again, and it'll expel again. So you got to be really careful with that. Okay. So I have to check for damage to the power cable or the power outlet, or like I was telling you, as we go up through the bottom of the door, that could be a problem that I'm going to need to check. Usually it's the neutral side that was bad, but I need to check if I've got one bad, I want to make sure that I do something to protect it from future issues. Okay. Then we're going to check for improper installation. One of the things I've got that is the worst problem that we have is the install crew didn't level it right. If something happened and I ran into one where I couldn't actually get it out of the countertop, out from underneath the countertop, because they had put a new floor into place. And whenever they put that floor in place, it made it so that I couldn't get the dishwasher out, not even with lowering the legs all the way or trying to get them up. I even tried, trying to lift the countertop just a little bit. You have to be very careful. If you're not super careful, what you can actually do is crack the countertop. And the countertop that I was actually using that was underneath this dishwasher was a marble countertop, and that would have cost me a chunk of change if I would have damaged it. So the other thing is I've got to check the proper drain and the proper hose hookup. I have to make sure that I have a high loop, because if I don't have a high loop, that's actually that will fail an inspection from somebody. I had a friend that I was trying to work on his dishwasher. I started to look at it. I started and pulled it out, and there was no high loop. So I had to go get a zip tie and a screw and had to put it up so that this guy had a high loop. Because what happens is if I don't have a high loop, and if I have it tied into the disposal, I can actually have the whatever's come in the disposal come down to my loop and get into my dishwasher. It causes a foul odor. It causes a foul smell. It can actually contaminate your dishwasher, and you'll have all kinds of problems. Okay, so that's my what you need to do to check for the installation. The other thing is you got to watch the outlets. I used to run a business where we installed Electrolux products, and that was a huge deal, because some of the contractors had an outlet behind the dishwasher, and when you tried to push it back, you couldn't push it back the correct way. If that's the case, then you have to let the contractor know, or you have to let the customer know that they have to fix this. Okay, so let's talk about our error codes. Okay, so when the water, if you look at it, and I have a flashing express light, when the water switch doesn't work in the wash in the pre-wash phase, I'm going to get this flashing light, my flashing express light. So all the driving parts except for the drain part is turned off, and the drain is performed for 20 seconds without you being able to do anything. Okay. So what could possibly be my cause? The first thing is that the water supply, my pressure may not be right, so I've got to check my water pressure. The other thing that could be wrong is that the water supply valve is closed. It could be that if, like, one of the problems that we used to have whenever it was a brand new subdivision or they were adding on to the subdivision, they would turn off the water to all of the houses in the area. And whenever you went and turned it back on, you would get all kinds of garbage into the valves. So it could be the dishwasher, it could be the washing machine, it could be the valve that goes into the refrigerator. Any of those will clog, because if I've shut off the power if you shut off the water to the whole house, you always run into that problem that you have to be careful of. Okay. One of the other thing is that a non-water switch is broken. So I got to double check that, my float switch for that. The water pump doesn't work. So I'm going to have to pull it and look at it. The main PCB could be having issues. So that would be with this express lighting. If I have the heavy lighting, when this occurs, the high water float switch is on for 5 seconds, and in five times it's happened. Okay. So when the high water float switch is on for 120 seconds, you'll also get this. Okay. So all of the driving parts except for the drain pump and the turnout and the draining implementation for the 120 seconds, and it'll do that without you being able to do anything. This dishwasher will be dead in the water. Okay. So it could be that the high level float switch is broken. Could be that the water valve is always open. It could be that the main PCB is having issues. It could be that I have a leak, and that's causing this problem. So I've got to. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the toe plate and look to see if I can see if there's any water trails. If I don't have any water trails, I'm going to look for something else, and I'm going to look at the water valve or the float switch. Okay. So if I have the normal light and the express light on, it tells me that the heating continued for 60 minutes and never arrived at the anticipated temperature. So this thing has a temperature of 135 that it has to reach before it will start everything else. So if it goes for longer than 60 minutes, which also is one of the complaints, that it takes too long. It takes too long for the machine. That could be my problem. So I can go in and check my error codes, and if I've got this error code, I know that I have an issue. Okay, so it could be that the heater's broken. Could be that the thermistor doesn't work properly, or it could be that the main PCB board has a problem, or it could be that the customer, whenever they turned the unit on, they were using totally cold water, and that could have been part of the problem. Okay. Now, if I have one that is just the normal is blinking, okay, when the water level sensor is less than 3 volts for 2 seconds, that's going to be driving all the parts except for the drain pump, and it's going to try to pump the water out for 120 seconds, and then it won't retry. It could tell me that the case brake fails are detected as a pulse. Could be that the water valve, is out of order. Could be it's not. You have to remember that this is the best that a technician has done from not in the U.S. So we have to talk about it, that it's not really truly English because some of the words don't mix. So it could be that the overflow is broken. It could be that there is a water a water leakage. That could be it. Now this is for the normal blinking. Okay, if I have the normal and the heavy blinking, that tells me that the thermistor is under an open circuit. So I'm going to go down and have to check my thermistor and see if my thermistor is shorted. And if it is, then I'm going to have to replace it. If it's not, then I'm going to have to go and look for wires that are broken. Okay. All the driving parts, except for the drain part, is turned off. And then, like I said, the thermistor is broken. Could be that the main PCB has detected a pulse. So that could be the problem. So I'm going to have to go out and I'm going to have to check my thermistor. Now, if I have the normal, the heavy, and the express wash on, that tells me that the thermistor is under a shorted filter. And like I said, everything is shut down. The thermistor is broken. Could be that the main PCB is failed, and it's got a detection of a pulse. Okay, if I have the auto and lit and the express lit, that tells me that the button is pressed and held for 30 continuous seconds or longer. So what does that actually mean? It means that the touch button is out of order. An object is on the touch button. It could be that the customer has actually used. A good example is somebody has actually sprayed the touchpad with like water, or sprayed it with 409 or some kind of cleaner, and it's gotten in between the membrane, and I'm going to have to replace that whole touch board. Okay, so that is for the auto and the express. If I have the auto, the normal, and the express, it communicates between the main board and the sub PCB board has failed for over 20 seconds. So keep going with the remaining cycle, but you're going to get this failure code when I put it in. The main PCB or the sub PCB is out of order, and then the communication connection for the main power or the sub PCB is not making contact. So I'm going to have to go and check all my connections going to both the main board and the PCB, the sub PCB, so that it all so that I know that I have all the connections are correct. Okay, auto mode configuration. So while the door is open, press the power button with the auto button and the express button. Press down within 3 seconds after turn off. Okay, then all the lights will flash. During the auto mode, all keys except the powering key are deactivated. So when the test is running, the indicator LED will cycle in the express, the heavy, the normal, and the auto LED. Those are all will cycle. So after I do that, I'm going to close the door. That will be a check for the main board. Then ones for displayed on the main board, auto, normal, express, LED will also be on, and the heavy LED will be off. Okay, so the ones for the display main code version, I'm going to get an auto, a normal will be off, the express and the heavy LED will be on. Then I'm going to go to step 5, which is going to check the water valve and the inlet fan. And then I'm going to turn the fan on and off after 10 seconds. Then I'm going to be able to turn the water inlet valve for 54 seconds, and then it'll turn off. If the turbidity sensor is detected, OK will be in the LED display. And then that'll be 3 hours, 6 hours indicator, and the 9-hour indicators. Okay, so this is what the main PCB looks like. Okay, so as I come in, okay, I'm going to look at this dishwasher. Okay, I have power coming in. This is the first thing that I can check is my power coming in. Then I can go to the Molenex plugs. I've got a little bit better diagram. Here you go. Okay, so AC and AC in, so alternating current and the alternating current in. This is a CN number 1. Then on CN number 2, I have the drain motor. I have the washing motor. Then I have normally closed, normally closed, normally closed on the next pins. Okay. Then if I go to the CN9 plug, okay, I'm going to get a 1 DC fan. That'll be my fan. We'll check to make sure I've got power coming out of going to my fan. Then I have a ground, and then I have a 12 volt on the last one. Okay, that is on this third pin that's right in the center here. Okay, if I have pin number 6, I've got the door, the water valve, and both of those are 12 volts. Okay, on pin number 5, I have the door and the dispenser. So if I have a bad dispenser, I can check that by making sure that the dispenser line actually trips the dispenser. Okay, so CN2 here is 5 volts. Then the second pin will be ground. Third pin will be 4X. The fourth pin is TX, and the 5 is NC, which is normally closed. Okay, if I go to the CN2 pin, okay, I've got 5 volts, ground, normally closed, normally open water sensor, and then I have a normally closed. Then on pin number CN4, that's 5 volts, and pin number 1 is 5 volts. Pin number 2 is ground. I've got a leak sensor. That's pin number 3. I have a high water sensor. That's on pin number 4. Pin number 5 is normally closed. Pin number 6 is normally closed. And pin number 7 is a thermistor. So we're going to go through. You have to remember which one of these I'm going to be able to check on my pins whenever I go through. Okay, this is what it looks like from the bottom of the dishwasher. Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a minute. Does anybody have any questions? Well, good. I see that we've got 7 people here, so that's good. Come on, guys, see if you've got any questions. Now's the time to ask. Okay, guys, my normal crew must not be here. They must have taken the day off. Okay, let's go ahead and start. So this is what it looks like from the bottom. You can tell that I have a drain motor. I've got a wash motor. I've got a valve my water valve right there. I can see my thermistors. I can see my What am I looking for? Man, I'm sorry. I just lost my whole train of thought. I can see not my capacitor right there. Sorry. I just drew a blank right there. So that's my capacitor right there for my motor. So I'm good. So if I'm having a pump issue, the first thing I've got to do is I've got to remove the dishwasher. Okay. We already talked about if I've got to move this dishwasher at all, the first thing I'm probably going to have to do is screw the legs up all the way. Okay. As far up as I can get it. Now, on several of these dishwashers, there is a screw in that is right next to it that you can actually screw the bottom legs up. On some of these dishwashers, depending on which model you buy, it could be that those legs you have to go in and do them yourself. So that's a real problem. So me as a technician, I pull it out as far as I can. Then I'm going to try to raise the back legs as far as I can. If I can't get the front legs out, I have to let the customer know and say, "Hey, Miss Jones, I'm sorry, but look right here. You can show them, right? I can't get this out, and here's why I can't get it out." So whoever installed the floor did it improperly, and you're going to have a carpenter come in and lift this countertop up, because I'm not going to chance breaking your countertop. Okay, but if I have a pump issue, okay, I've got to remove this dishwasher. So I've got to pull this dishwasher out. I'm going to lean it or put it on its back. That's why I need a pad or something to put it on. Then I'm gonna remove the hose clamps. And then I can unlock the pump housing by turning it counterclockwise, and then I can remove any debris that's from the pump. This will be our noise issue problem. Okay, so you have to, whenever we do this, to put it back in, all you do is reverse what we just said. Okay, so the unit comes on in the middle of the night or at odd times during the day. We have a problem, Houston. We're gonna have to check this turbidity sense. I mean the float sensor that says, "Hey, I've got water in me." So you see it right here. Whenever it gets water and it gets contact, it will actually cause this to turn the unit on. Okay. Now, if I'm going to try to clean the filter, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the lower rack. Once I remove the lower rack, I can lift up on that spray arm and I can remove it. Okay. Once I do that, I can lift up and turn the filter about a quarter of a turn counterclockwise. You can see it happening right here. Okay. Once I can remove that filter, then I can lift that strainer out that's right there, and then I can remove this smaller filter. Once I remove that smaller filter, I'm going to clean any of the garbage, junk pieces that are laying in there, glass, screws. Does anybody know why we get screws in the dishwasher? I mean, why in the world do we get a screw in the dishwasher? It's not like your pants where you got a screw in the washing machine because you had it in your pocket. So what would cause a unit to actually have a screw in it? Okay, may not be an actual screw. It may be a rivet. Very common. Many of the pots and pans that are made today either have screws. Could be like I said, a rivet. It could be a little nut and washer that could be down there. And those are all from the pieces of like a pot or a frying pan, depending on what they bought, and that could be my problem. Okay, so if I want to get to this PCB, okay, I can remove the 2 screws on the PCB board. You see it right there. Okay, I'm going to pull out the PC board carefully. Once I do that, I've got it out and I can look at it. Okay, the one thing that I will caution you about is when you're removing the main PCB, I'm going to lift the PCB board up carefully because it hangs on the PCB case by 2 hooks. So you have to look for those hooks. And whenever I go to put it back in, I have to be careful because I'm going to have to put that back in just the same way that I had to pull it out. Okay. Next, I'm going to make sure that I disconnect the power. I'm going to remove the lower basket in the dishwasher. I'm going to cover the assembly pump with a towel to prevent any screws that fall out. Okay. Then after I do that, I'm going to open the door completely. I'm going to remove the 14 screws holding the tub front, the frame front, and the control panel in place. You can see them all right there. It's showing you right there where they're all going to be. Okay. Then after I do that, I'm going to remove the cover for the fan by rotating it counterclockwise. Okay. On several of these, I have actually had to take 2 screwdrivers, put them down in the hole, take my huge lock and pliers, and use that to unscrew it, depending on how old it is, and depending on how forceful the person that installed it at the factory. Some people, they torque them out. Yes. It could be Pete, that you're exactly right. Could be that something is dropped it in the unit. Usually it's the pots and pans that you normally find. I tell you what, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, so here's exactly what I'm talking about. If you look right here, you can see that there are 3 screws on this. 3? Yes, 3. There are 3 Phillips head screws. One here, and one here. It holds the handle on. Well, these will come out after they've been used so many times. So that will fall down into the that inner. It'll try to get down into the sump pump. Okay, so we're going to do all of this. We're going to turn it counterclockwise. Once we turn it counterclockwise, okay, do not place the removed screws in the tub front. They may fall into the sump assembly, which is what we were just talking about. Okay. Then I'm going to remove the 4 wire connectors, and I can remove the inner door. There it is right there, separated. There's all the 4 wire connectors that you have. Okay. Then I can remove the assembly control panel from the front, pull it out just a little bit. You can see it right there. And I can remove the black foam block. You see it right there that you're going to remove. Okay. I'm going to remove the wire connector from the control panel. Once I remove that wire connector, I have it totally freed. And then I can do whatever it is that I need to do. I can ohm out here. I don't have any power to the unit, so you can't do anything but ohm it out. But you can. That still tells you where your problem is. Okay, I'm going to tell you that I had a friend that called me the other day, and he said, "Listen, I got this problem, and every time I go out, nothing makes a sound." And so I said, "Did you put it through the cycles? Did you hear anything?" And he was like, every time I go, I never find anything. But you know what? As soon as I leave, the customer runs it through the cycle, and she gets this. She calls me back. Hey, it's not fixed. You need to come back out here and fix it. So what he had happen was that this fan was going bad, and at certain times, just when it hit the right point, that fan would squeak. You'd hear it squeak, 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 squeak. So that would be the problem. So you got to separate the door. You've got to get down. You've got to get to that fan. You'll have to take the screws out of the fan. There's four little small screws right there, and then I can take and replace that fan. Okay. So door lock issues. I can tell you right now that this is the problem that I have on my Maytag dishwasher. Okay. My door lock, if you pull the door lock open, if you pull the door open while it's running, it will just run and run, and it'll keep right on running. It'll spray water all over the floor. Okay. So what has happened is this door lock mechanism is hung up. Okay. So what I can do is I can go back, I can remove my door lock mechanism by on the front by taking I can remove the door lock mechanism by separating the panels. Okay. Then I'm going to separate the door. I'm going to remove the lock, the mechanism, remove the lock mechanism. I'll turn it over. I'm going to place my finger right there where that is. Whenever I push on that, at that point, I should hear a click. If I don't hear a click, means that I may have to just replace that whole mechanism. Okay. I have gone in and put some white lithium grease on that so it didn't stick so much the next time. And once I do that, I can just reinstall it. And once I do that, I'm going to check it by turning the dishwasher on. I'll open it, making sure that it stops. And if it doesn't stop, then that tells me that my switch is totally bad. But mine is, I got a feeling this is exactly what's the matter with mine, that it's hung up. Okay. If we're talking about the main PCB. So here's what I do. I have to take these two screws out, make sure to disconnect the power while I'm doing this. The main PCB is located under the door. Then I'm going to remove the two screws of the PCB case and then pull out the PCB cover carefully. Okay. It'll give me all of these connectors that I have. I can now remove all the connectors. I can go and check them. And I can ohm things out and make sure that I've got the power, the wires are good. Then I can see if I can ohm it out, and I'm going to need the manual for this, and that way it'll tell me how many ohms I should be pulling. So this is one thing that I really like, again, about the GE dishwasher. Anything GE from 2017 up to now, if I have the Smart HQ device and it's connected, I get anything that I need. It will tell me any updates that need to be done, and I can update that. It will show me any service bulletins that are out there. And I mean, Samsung has their own way of doing it, but I have to go out and I have to get a connection to the Wi-Fi, if I've got one, if I've got a Wi-Fi connection, I can go out to Samsung and I paid my dues for Samsung. I can get all the information that I need. So theirs is coming up. They're talking about. I think it's in testing phase 2025, and I think they're going to introduce it in 2026. Okay. If I want to remove this air duct, I'm going to remove the duct condenser from the door outlet. You can see it right there. Take the screw out. Okay. I'm going to remove the 2 screws holding it in. Okay. And then that holds that duct into place. Once I do that, okay. That's how I get this dispenser. I'm sorry. That's how I get this duct out. Okay. Then, if I'm going to remove the dispenser assembly, it doesn't say anything about this, but let me tell you from personal experience, I have cuts on my fingers, both hands, all from doing stupid things, and ended up cutting my hands so bad that I ended up having to get dirt. Get blood all over a customer's home, and customers don't like it when you bleed all over their house. So what I would tell you is, if I'm working on a dishwasher, I'm probably going to have a pair of gloves, because this dispenser is made from Schick. Schick makes these dispensers, because when you push that thing through the door, you have to do it carefully. You can cut your hand so easily, and you don't even realize it half the time. You end up looking down, and I've got blood all over myself. So now I have to take, I don't know about you guys, whenever I was a technician, I was king of electrical tape and paper towel. So I always carried paper towels. So I would take a paper towel, wrap my finger up, and then electrical tape it, till I could get the blood stopped, and then could finish my call and go and get fix it correctly. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna wait 1 minute right here. If you got any questions, now's the time to ask. This is one thing that I really like to teach, and have a live class. And that's because now you can put what we're talking about now, you can put that knowledge to use, and you can actually take it apart and put it back together. Okay, I don't see any questions. Hey, Dave, there you are. Okay, so we're moving the dispenser. I'm going to push that motor. I'm going to push that out carefully. You can see the guy's got 3 fingers on it, holding it to press it. I always wore gloves once I got smart, and that way, because it is sharp, and it tells you right there that it's sharp. And then once I push it out, I can turn it around and get and find out. And if I have determined that it is bad, I can just take it out and put a new one in. Okay. So we're moving the upper spray arms. Okay. So there's 2 styles of upper spray arms. Okay. So if I'm pulling a rack out, no, what do you mean use a dime? Expand a little bit, Rupert. Tell me about what you're. How do you do that? Rupert, explain to us how you use dimes to extract the. Okay, we'll go ahead, Rupert. Go ahead and type it in, and we'll come back to it. Okay, so there are two styles of upper racks. Okay, some of them do not have wheels. Some of them do have wheels. If I have ones that have a wheel, I just remove the cap and the cap where I can pull it out. If I don't have the wheel, which is the one that's on the left, what I actually have to do is I have to pull this all the way out on the outside. I'm sorry, I thought that I had marked that, but on the outside there's a little lever that you push up on the right side and you push down on the left side, and then I can pull it out. Okay, here we go. Uses dimes to push the tabs down. The dimes keep you from cutting your fingers when you push it through the door. Okay. You just put them on two on each side, or why do you need 5? Okay, so this is how we're going to go ahead and go on. Rupert, go ahead and put it in, and whenever you get it finished, I'll keep moving. So that's the two different styles of dishwasher racks for the upper rack. Okay, so if I'm going to remove the upper spray arm, I've got to remove that rack. So I'm going to remove the upper assembly basket, and then the lower assembly basket. Then I'm going to make sure to take any of the water that I'm going to be working on. So I'm going to make sure to remove the water out of each rotor to prevent water from spilling out. You can see right there the upper assembly. I'm going to remove it by rotating the holder rotor counterclockwise. So if you're going to hold it right there at the very top where that's at, and then you're going to rotate that counterclockwise. When you get it off, you're going to see it's going to look just like that right there. This is at the very top of the rack. Okay, this center rack. Okay, this is, if I'm going to remove this center spray arm, I'm going to, the assembly motor, I'm going to remove it by rotating the holder rotor in the middle from the assembly basket. Once I rotate that counterclockwise, you can see it right there. As I rotate it counterclockwise, it'll fall, and then I can get to it. So for what would be what could be the problem? Why would I even need to do that? As everybody knows, sometimes you get little pieces of trash or glass or very minute particles in there, and it's just spraying. It'll get hung up. I found little pieces of plastic in it once I did it, and I had to take a pair of pliers and either pull it out or poke it in, and then try to find it. Some of the times the spray arm, after many years, the spray arm will actually separate a little bit. And I could have a problem with my spray arm, and I'm just going to have to replace my spray arm. Okay. So then from there, the lower one, that's a piece of cake. Lower one's easy. You just grab it at the center right there and lift up on it, and it will disengage. You can see right there how that disengages. Okay. Once I do that, this exposes the lower spray base. Okay. I'm going to remove the 2 screws. You see them right there. Then I'm going to remove the lower spray base. When I remove it, it looks like this. Then I can get to the cover, and I can remove all 4 screws from the cover. You see that right there. Those are all highlighted. Then I can remove the cover. Okay. Okay, that's a great idea, Rupert. Does anybody else use that method? The only way I've ever done it is to one at a time to easily take it out and try to push it out. But that's a good idea. I would have never thought about it. Of course, now that's 50 cents. So that'll be that's not even, you can't even get a phone call hardly for that anymore. But that's a good idea, Rupert. Thank you. Okay. So the assembly sump right here, if I'm going to remove the motor, I'm going to disassemble the assembly baskets, the case gear, the assembly duct, the case rotor power duct, and the holder for the fine filter. Disassemble the cover base, case gear, and the shaft rod adjuster foot. Then I'm going to refer each to disassemble the section. Then I'm going to remove the parts which are not connected to the assembly sump connectors, then the drain pump and the screws. The one things you're going to need to have is I'm going to need some towels there. If I do not have any towels on this unit, if I'm not putting towels down, I'm going to get, even though I've tried, I'm going to get water because that sump assembly holds water. Be sure that you have a towel with you. Okay. Then I can, if I want to do the sump assembly, the lower part of the sump assembly, I'm going to unscrew these 4 screws right here. Once I unscrew those 4 screws, I'm going to pull the assembly sump out using your hands, pulling it out carefully. Then I can make sure to remove the remaining water in the dishwasher. If not, water will spill onto the floor. That's what I was just telling you. Okay. So once I do that, I've got it so I can get it out. Okay. Now, this is one problem that I had told you about, that I have had a customer that complained because this was too loud. She could hear it run water. What the lady was thinking, I have no idea. So the solution that I came up with was I had some insulation, and I stuffed some insulation and taped it around that area. And that actually helped quieten it down. And it's like I told her, ma'am, this thing is supposed to have water. You're going to be able to hear it go in. It should be a little bit not quite so noisy, but it is. And that's because of the way that the kitchen is designed. Here's all that I can do. This is the only thing as a matter of fact, the manufacturer told me not to even worry about it, that if you needed to, you could call them. So I did everything that I could to get it so the unit would be as quiet as possible. Okay. So if I'm going to replace that inlet, I have had several of the inlets that were clogged, and I just replaced them. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make sure that the damaged the unit, okay, to the supply and the drain connectors. I'm going to remove the upper and lower bands in the dishwasher, and I'm going to put it to the pull out the dishwasher carefully. I'm going to remove the two clamps. You can see it right there where they're pulling that, where they're removing those clamps. These, it depends on which model you have. Yes, you're exactly right. No insulation. That can cause this issue. That's the reason that I put some insulation around it. But you can, these clamps, there's a German manufacturer that makes some of these clamps. You may have this, you end up having to cut it off. You have to take a pair of what I call dikes and cut that so that I can get that clamp off. And then whenever I replace it, I just put just a small gear clamp on it. Okay. So once I do that, like I said, you turn it counterclockwise, and then I can just remove the whole thing. All right. So there it is right there. I'm sorry, it's clockwise, not counterclockwise. So I'm going to remove the inner, that says counterclockwise. I was right. Okay. So I'm going to remove it counterclockwise, and that way I can take this whole thing out. All right. To remove the base cover, this is everybody's best thing that they love to do. Okay. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to disconnect the power supply, the drain hose connectors, make sure that I drain all the water that I can get. I'm going to remove the upper and lower baskets to the dishwasher, pull out the dishwasher carefully, remove the water supply line and the elbow. Usually those are tied together. I'm going to lay the dishwasher down on its back. I'm going to remove the screw. Then I'm going to press and pull out on the fixture hooks. You can see it right there. That's exactly what you have to do. Okay. Then I'm going to hold up the base cover and pull out. There's a picture of the technician holding it up, pulling it out. Then I've got to remove this leakage sensor that we've already talked about. Okay. Then I'm going to press the two fixture blocks of the leakage sensor cover together. You see it right there. And there it is where you've got it removed. Okay. If I'm thinking that the thermostat's bad and I check it and the thermostat is actually having a problem, I'm going to actually disassemble the cover base, refer to the cover base disassembly, which is what we just went through. Then I'm going to remove the two screws from the base itself. Once I do that, I'm going to turn it counterclockwise and it will come out. I have to be very careful to do this, and then that connector will come out. Okay. So if I'm going to change the motor, I'm going to disassemble the base cover, refer the base cover disassembly section, which we just went through. We're going to disconnect the 5 connectors from the motor. You see that right there. Okay. Then we're going to loosen the clamps on the left side. You can tell that these are actually, what do you call it? These are the clamps that I was talking about. I'm going to loosen the left clamp, release the hose from the sump, add the clamp to the circulation hold and pull out the circulation motor carefully to remove it from the sump. And then make sure to remove the remaining water from the dishwasher. If not, you're going to end up with it on the floor, of course. Then I'm going to grab the base and pull the motor out. Okay. If I have a drain pump that I need to remove, This is the easiest thing in the world is to remove the drain pump. I have technicians that do not have to pull it out. They can just their hands are small enough that they can get in there and remove that drain pump and pull it out. So I'm going to disassemble the shutter base. Refer to the cover base disassembly instructions. Then I can remove the pump drain by rotating it counterclockwise, lifting up on the hook, holding it slightly in place. Make sure to remove all the water. Of course, you see how many times they have actually said, be careful and watch for the water. That's because a customer gets really upset whenever you get water all over their floor. Okay. So the drain pump has a seal. Okay. Just remember that. So remove the two hooks from the sensor turbidity. This is for a turbidity sensor. Okay. I'm going to use a flat screwdriver to carefully remove it from the assembly sump, preventing it, not allowing it to break. Okay. The turbidity sensor has a seal, so I have to be very careful. If I pull it out and I don't get the seal with it, I have to find out what happened to it because it will leak. Okay. Does everybody know what a turbidity sensor does? Okay. I'm gonna tell you what a turbidity sensor does in 2 minutes. There's a beam that is flashed from this turbidity sensor. It goes out and connects, and it tells the dishwasher how dirty the water is. If the water is clean, it will adjust the cycle down so that I have less time on my for my dishwasher to run. If it detects that it has a whole lot of gunk in it, then it increases the time. That's all a turbidity sensor does. So if it goes bad, there's no way to really check it except to take it and actually replace it. That's the only bad thing about a turbidity sensor, because if you don't, then you're not ever guaranteed that it's going to work right unless you replace it. Okay, so like I said, that turbidity sensor has a seal on it, so you have to be very careful with that and make sure that it doesn't drop out in the floor and you can't find it. Okay, so disassemble the cover base, remove the turbidity sensor connector, remove the two hooks from the turbidity sensor, use a flat screwdriver to carefully remove it from the unit to avoid any breakage that could occur, and then just be very careful with it. Now, the water valve. You can see right here, I've got to remove two screws from the base. After I do that, I can lift up the inlet valve. I can disconnect the valve wire connector. First thing I've got to do is turn the water to the dishwasher off. That's funny because it didn't say that, and I just thought about it and I didn't even notice that it didn't say that. Okay, so I've got to turn the water off before I do anything. So I'm going to then, after I turn the water off, I'm going to remove the two screws. Whenever I get ready to remove the water from the water valve, I've got to have a towel. You can see right there that the clamp right there, I can remove that clamp, and then I can spin that out. So that's pretty easy for the water valve. Okay, there it is right there. There is removing the hose clamp. Take care of it lightly. Oh, take care to hold it tightly. The clamp is under tension, and if released, it can become a projectile. Okay. There is a residual amount of water in the valve and the valve hose. Use a towel to absorb the water. Once again, here's another thing for a water valve. This is the thermistor that I was just talking about. You see how that is, and it's pushed it's got a light that it flashes through, so it checks the water. I'm going to disassemble the cover base like we had, like we had talked about. Then I can remove the one screw of the cover base and pull out the cover base. Release the 2 screws of the thermistor, pull it out carefully. The thermistor has a seal, okay? Then I'm going to disassemble the base cover if I need to remove the drain hose. I'm going to refer to the cover assembly disassembly that we just have gone through. Then we're going to remove the soundproof felt. Then I'm going to pull the 2 hooks. You see them right there, to make sure that and be sure to wear gloves when removing. Be careful as the steel plate is sharp and you can cut yourself. Once again, that is a warning sign. Now, to remove the clamp by rotating a vise plier, be careful when removing the clamp as the connector is easily damaged. So you can see it right there. So I have to be very careful. Then I'm going to release the hose from the sump assembly carefully and entirely. Now I've got it removed and I'm set to go. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? What's the turbidity sensor does on the machine? It either will increase or decrease the amount of time on the machine. All the turbidity sensor does is a beam of light that flashes through the water. The water in turn tells it how much trash is in it, how much gunk there is. It's not clear, so it doesn't have a straight line penetrating it, and it will adjust it either up or down depending on what it reads on the sensor. Did that answer your question, Hector? Does anybody else have any questions? What will happen, Hector, is that it won't get the right amount of cleaning done on the unit, because that will actually, like I said, if it reads it and if it's in the failed position, it's not gonna ever adjust the time up or down. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much today for your attention. If you guys have any questions, my phone number and my email, I always request that you send me an email. If you're going to call me, text me first and let me know, hey, this is Hector. I had a question that I needed you to answer, and then I'll return the call for you. I will turn 65 in 2 days, and I have gotten about 10 calls a day want me to get their little thing to take care of Medicaid. So I get at least 10 a day. So just text me right now. I mean, after this is over with, hopefully it's going to die down and I won't be hearing this. Of course, from what I've been told, it will die down in about another 2 months. Okay, everybody. There is one thing that I would like for you to do. There is a little information that is left at the very end of this. Okay. It's a company video for Encompass. Once again, I wanted to thank Encompass because they are the reason that we have a class like this at no charge to anybody. So thank you, Encompass. Thank you, technicians. I really appreciate it. You have a wonderful day and be careful out there.